Welcome back to the Reliance YouTube channel. Today's topic, we're going to talk about how to correctly select the boiler trim for your application. So let's first start with the basics. What is a direct reading gauge? What is a remote level indicator? A direct reading gauge is a gauge that you can physically see the water level in. An example of this would be our prismatic gauges like our RC and RS series, a flat glass or transparent gauge, as they're sometimes called, or here we have our simple port gauge. This is sometimes called a ported gauge or bicolor gauge, and it works with light refraction so that way you can see the level inside the gauge, but you still are physically seeing the water inside that gauge. A remote level indicator, on the other hand, you cannot physically see the water level in the gauge. This is a device that uses some type of technology to transmit what water level is inside this device to a remote level indicator, as the name implies. Examples of this include our smart level system, which is going to have the control unit and a probe column like I'm holding here, a magnetic level indicator, where it's using a float and a series of flags to show where the level is, guided wave radar, or another option is differential pressure transmitters. So which of these types of level indications should you use? ASME Section 1 Boiler and Pressure Vessel Code outlines, as a minimum, which devices must be used. When the design pressure of the boiler drum is less than 400 psi, code states that the boiler must have at least one direct reading gauge glass that is in service at all times and visible to the boiler operator where control actions are taken. If the gauge glass is not visible to the operator, they must have at least one gauge glass that is in service at all times and two remote level indicators that are visible to the operator where control action is taken. When the design pressure is over 400 psi, code says that the boiler must have at least two direct reading gauges. Again, the operator must be able to see the level in the gauge glasses where control action is taken. When the operator can't see the level, code allows the use of one gauge glass and two remote level indicators. The gauge glass may be valved out but remain in serviceable condition, meaning an operator can open the valves to the gauge and be able to safely view the water level in the gauge glass. Two remote level indicators must be visible to the operator at all times when the boiler is in operation. So now that you know what is required for your boiler or pressure vessel, let's talk about the information needed to correctly specify the equipment. The maximum allowable working pressure, or design pressure and temperature of the boiler drum is necessary to correctly specify the equipment needed. This information can be found on the boilerplate that is attached to the drum or in the OEM documentation. It is important to note that this pressure, the design pressure, is different than operating pressure. The visible range required for the gauge glass and remote level indicator. ASME code requires that the operating range of the boiler be visible in the gauge glass. Operating range includes all of the alarms and trips specified by the boiler manufacturer. These levels must be included in the range of the devices. This information can be found on the original drum drawings. We also need to know the connection sizes and types along with the center-to-center dimensions. Viewing arrangements for the gauge glass, which may take into consideration any obstructions that would block seeing the level in the gauge glass. This could include structural piping, handrails, or other equipment that could interfere with the envelope of our equipment. The power supply required, if that is necessary for the application. And then finally, the environmental requirements, such as, is the equipment being mounted inside or in an outdoor location? Is it a corrosive atmosphere requiring a NEMA 4X enclosure? Is this an ordinary or hazardous area classification? And is the equipment going to be subject to excessive heat or cold temperatures? If you have copies of drawings for the existing equipment, these will also provide the required information. All of the required information listed before can be found on our online order specification sheets, which are found on our website, relianceboilertrim.com. If you need assistance with any of these questions, or would like someone to come out to your site and perform a survey, please feel free to reach out to us.